Have you ever felt like your leadership is just a constant energy leak? Well, today we're going to flip that script. We're talking about how to stop that drain and actually use modern tools to turn all that leaking energy back into luminous, real-world impact. Let's dive right in. This quote from a leader really just stops you in your tracks. I used to love my work. Now, I just survive it. How many of us have felt that? That feeling of just trying to get through the day? Well, that's the start of a huge, invisible problem that's plaguing modern leadership.
So what is this problem exactly? Look, it's not about you being bad at time management. It's something we can call an energy leak. It's this slow, steady drain caused by all these pressures and demands that, they never show up on your calendar. They're definitely not in your performance review, but wow, do they take a massive toll.
And this is where it gets really specific. We're talking about that quick favor you get asked for at 9 o'clock at night. All the emotional labor of managing team dynamics, right? And, that silent, nagging guilt you feel when you finally say no to something. These are the silent energy vampires, and they are draining leaders completely dry.
And this is the big switch we need to make. We have to stop trying to patch this leak with more productivity hacks. Seriously, you don't need another to-do list. What you need is a better mirror. A way to see, with total clarity, where your energy is actually going, so you can find out where your real power lies.
So if you're feeling drained, I promise you, you are not alone. This is a massive, widespread challenge. And when you actually dig into the data, you find this really fascinating, universal need that gets right to the heart of this whole problem. Okay, so a recent poll asked a bunch of leaders a pretty simple question. If AI could genuinely give you your time and energy back, what would you really want it to do for you? And let me tell you, the answers were not about getting to inbox zero. They were about something much, much deeper. Okay, just look at this. The top answers had nothing to do with tasks. It was all about clarity and awareness. Leaders are desperate for help clarifying their top 3 priorities. They want space to actually think again, and they want to find out what's draining their energy. They don't want another assistant. They want a personal strategist for their own focus and well-being. So the big question is, how do we fix this? Well, McKinsey actually has this really powerful new playbook. It outlines 5 critical shifts that leaders need to make for this new era. Let's get into it and see how this framework gives us a real, structured solution. So here's the entire framework at a glance. You can see each row is a pretty fundamental evolution in thinking. So instead of just profit, you extend to creating real impact, and your role becomes that of a visionary. Instead of just competition, you move to co-creation, becoming an architect. You go from top-down command to genuine collaboration, acting as a catalyst. From rigid control, you embrace evolution and become a coach. And finally, you go beyond just meeting expectations to embracing wholeness, becoming more human. We're going to do a deep dive on 2 of the most important shifts right now to see how this actually works. All right, let's break down that first shift. This is all about moving from being a manager who's just obsessed with short-term profit to becoming a true visionary, someone who creates lasting value for literally everyone, your customers, your employees, and even society as a whole. And honestly, there is no better example of this visionary mindset in action than Netflix. They are an absolute masterclass in playing the long game because they were always driven by a purpose that was way, way bigger than their business model at the time. This quote from Reed Hastings is just brilliant. You have to remember, he said this when Netflix was just mailing DVDs in red envelopes. The vision was never about the envelopes. It was about transforming global entertainment. Now that is a purpose that gets people to take action. And the result of chasing that audacious vision? Well, Netflix didn't just grow. It absolutely exploded. A 32-fold increase in earnings in just 6 years. That's not just good business, my friends. That is the incredible power of a purpose-driven strategy. Okay, now for a much more personal shift. This one's about moving beyond that professional mask we all wear. The one that's just about meeting expectations. And instead, truly showing up as your authentic human self. And you gotta ask yourself, are you ready for that? So what's the secret sauce here? It all comes down to psychological safety. That's about creating an environment where people feel safe enough to speak up, to take risks, even to fail without being afraid. When you, as a leader, can create that space, you unlock the absolute full potential of your entire team. And this right here is why it's a total game changer. See, when people feel safe enough to be themselves, you unleash their passion, their creativity, their wisdom. You don't just get their skills for the day, you get their heart and soul. And that is a massive competitive advantage. So, how do you actually make this happen? Well, here are 3 really concrete practices. First, expand your own self-awareness. Second, learn to regulate your emotions and choose your response. And third, start treating your own well-being like a core leadership skill. It's simple, right? But definitely not easy. Now, all of this sounds great, doesn't it? But making these big shifts is tough, especially when you are already running on empty. It takes a level of awareness and energy that's just really hard to find on your own. And that's where an AI co-pilot comes in, not to manage your to-do list, but to give you the insight you need to actually transform. This slide just says it all, doesn't it? The old way of thinking was, you need more hustle, grind harder. The new way? It's about working smarter, with more awareness. It's time to ditch the hustle and get a co-pilot to help you navigate your own energy. So here's how it actually works. This co-pilot creates what's called a boundary clarity zone. Think of it as your personal energy mirror. It shows you exactly what drains you and what fuels you. It can even help you figure out how to say no effectively. This turns setting boundaries from something scary into a data-driven superpower. And really, this is the ultimate goal, isn't it? To stop constantly fighting the tide of that energy drain, and instead to start surfing the waves of your own power and your own purpose. I mean, who doesn't want that? So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What is one invisible energy drain that you can plug right now, this week? How are you going to start making your own leadership luminous again? The power truly is in your hands.